In a grand hall filled with glowing lights and strange symbols, the Galactic Council gathered for an important meeting. Representatives from many different planets sat in a large circle, each one eager to share their thoughts. The air buzzed with excitement and tension. Today, they would discuss humans and their growing influence in the galaxy. At the center of the circle sat the alien ambassador, a wise and respected figure. His green skin shimmered under the lights, and his long antennae twitched as he listened to the council members. Some were young and hot-headed, while others were older and more cautious. The ambassador knew that today's meeting could change everything. "Humans are a threat," shouted a young council member from a planet covered in ice. His voice echoed through the hall. "They are weak and divided. We should attack before they can grow stronger." Many council members nodded in agreement. They remembered stories of humans fighting among themselves, wars that seemed endless. They believed that now was the time to show strength. "Wait!" the ambassador said, raising his hand. "I have traveled to Earth and studied humans for many cycles. They are not as weak as you think. They are clever, strong, and full of surprises." Some council members laughed. "Surprises? What can humans do that we cannot?" asked a member with shimmering blue skin. "They are just animals in fancy clothes." The ambassador took a deep breath. "Let me tell you a story," he said. "Many years ago, humans faced a great disaster. A giant rock fell from the sky and threatened their world. Instead of giving up, they united. They worked together, sharing knowledge and skills. They built machines and launched a mission to stop the rock. In the end, they saved their planet." The council fell silent. They had not heard this story before. The young member from the ice planet frowned. "But that was just luck." "They can't always be lucky." "True," the ambassador replied, "but humans are resourceful. They find ways to overcome challenges. Every time they are pushed, they become stronger. Underestimate them at your own risk." The room buzzed with whispers. Some members were still skeptical, but others were beginning to see the truth in the ambassador's words. The older members listened carefully, remembering their own past battles. They knew what it meant to face an underestimated enemy. "Let's not forget the strength of our own forces," a tall member with a deep voice said. "Our weapons are advanced. We could crush them easily." The ambassador shook his head. "Force is not the only answer. We must think carefully. If we attack, we may ignite a fire we cannot control. Humans are not like any other species. They have a unique spirit that drives them. When pushed, they become fierce defenders of their home." Another council member, who had been quiet, finally spoke. "What do you propose, Ambassador? Should we just let them grow without challenge?" The ambassador stood tall. "I suggest we send diplomats to Earth. Let us open a dialogue instead of a war. We can learn from them, and they can learn from us. This could be the start of a new alliance." A murmur ran through the room. Some were excited by the idea, while others were unsure. The younger members wanted action, but the older ones saw the wisdom in the ambassador's words. The debate grew more heated as the council discussed their options. As the meeting continued, the tension in the room became palpable. The council faced a choice that could change the fate of the galaxy. The ambassador watched as the discussions unfolded, hoping that reason and understanding would win over fear and aggression. Finally, as the meeting reached its peak, the council members prepared to vote. Would they choose war against humans, or would they heed the ambassador's warning and seek peace? The future hung in the balance, and the ambassador knew that this decision could either lead to destruction or a new beginning. The council meeting ended in chaos. Some members were excited about the idea of talking to humans, while others still wanted to go to war. The alien ambassador felt a heavy weight on his shoulders. He knew the stakes were high, and he had to act quickly to change minds. As the council members left the hall, the ambassador gathered his courage. He decided to share more stories about humans, hoping to show their true nature. He believed that understanding humans could prevent a war that no one wanted. The next day, the council reconvened. The members settled into their seats, the atmosphere charged with energy. The ambassador stood up again, his heart racing. "Thank you for coming back. I want to share more about humans so we can see them clearly." He took a deep breath and began. "Humans have faced many challenges throughout their history. In their past, they have made mistakes and fought against each other. But what sets them apart is their ability to learn and adapt. They have the power to turn their failures into strengths." A council member with bright red skin raised an eyebrow. "But they are still divided." "Why should we fear them?" The ambassador replied, "Divided they may be, but when danger comes, they unite. They have a deep-rooted sense of loyalty to their families, friends, and countries. When threatened, they will band together. I have seen it myself." He continued, "Let me tell you about a time when humans faced an enemy much stronger than themselves. An alien race invaded their world, believing they could easily conquer it. The humans were terrified, but instead of surrendering, they fought back with everything they had. They created new weapons and strategies, and against all odds, they pushed the invaders out. Their bravery shocked everyone. Some council members shifted in their seats, feeling the weight of the ambassador's words. They were beginning to realize that humans were more than they seemed. The ambassador noticed a glimmer of understanding in their eyes. Humans also have a unique ability to think creatively. When faced with a problem, they don't just look for the easiest solution. They explore every option. This is what makes them unpredictable. "But what if they attack us first?" a young member asked, still skeptical. "We cannot let our guard down!" The ambassador nodded. "That is a valid concern. But remember, war leads to suffering on both sides. Humans have shown that they prefer to negotiate first. They value life, even their own enemies. If we approach them with respect, they may respond in kind." Another member, an older alien with a wise look, leaned forward. "You have traveled to Earth. What do you think they would say if we reached out to them?" The ambassador smiled, encouraged by the questions. "I believe they would welcome us. Humans are curious creatures. They want to learn about other worlds and civilizations. They are not as quick to violence as we think." The room was silent as the council members absorbed his words. The ambassador continued, "We must act wisely. A peaceful approach could lead to a strong alliance, which benefits both sides. But if we choose war, we risk awakening a sleeping giant. Their anger can unleash destruction that we cannot control." As the ambassador finished, he saw a shift in the council's mood. Some members who had initially favored war were now considering the possibility of peace. The tension in the room eased slightly, but not everyone was convinced. A young council member with vibrant blue scales stood up. "But what if they betray us?" "We must be cautious." The ambassador replied firmly, "Caution is wise, but fear should not guide our actions. We can prepare for the worst while hoping for the best. Let us send a small team of diplomats to Earth. They can gather information and test the waters for peace. It is better than launching a full-scale attack." With that, the ambassador stepped back, waiting for the council's response. Would they heed his warning and choose a path of understanding, or would they let fear lead them to war? The future of both their worlds hung in the balance, and he could only hope they would make the right choice. The day had finally arrived for the council to meet with the human diplomats. Excitement and nervousness filled the grand hall once again. The alien ambassador stood at the front, ready to welcome the humans. He knew this meeting could change everything. As the doors opened, 2 human diplomats walked in. They were dressed in formal clothes, showing respect for the occasion. One was a tall man with short brown hair, and the other was a woman with long, flowing black hair. They smiled confidently, despite the tension in the room. The ambassador felt a wave of hope as he saw them. "Welcome, friends from Earth," the ambassador said warmly. "We are honored to have you here today. Please introduce yourselves." The tall man stepped forward. "I'm David, and this is my colleague Maria. We come from Earth to discuss our future together." Maria smiled and added, "We appreciate this opportunity to speak with you. We hope to build a strong relationship with your people." The council members exchanged glances, curious about these humans who had traveled so far. The ambassador motioned for everyone to sit, and the meeting began. David spoke first, sharing stories about Earth. "We come from a planet filled with diverse cultures, languages, and ideas. Our people have faced many challenges, but we believe in cooperation and learning from one another." Maria nodded. "Yes, we understand that differences can lead to conflict, but they can also lead to growth. We believe we can work together for a better future." Some council members were impressed by their words, but others remained skeptical. A member with deep blue skin raised a hand. "How can we trust you? What if you are hiding your true intentions?" The ambassador interjected, "Trust takes time. It is built through understanding and shared experiences. Let us give these humans a chance to show us who they are." David and Maria exchanged glances. Then David spoke again. "We understand your concerns. We have our own history of distrust, but we have learned that communication is key. We want to show you our strengths, not our weaknesses." To prove their point, the humans suggested a demonstration. They proposed to show the council how humans respond to challenges. David pulled out a small device that looked like a tablet. "This is a simulation of a crisis we faced on Earth," he explained. "It will show how we work together to solve problems." The council members leaned in, intrigued. David activated the device, and the screen lit up with a scene of a large storm threatening a city. The council watched as humans on the screen quickly organized themselves. They set up shelters, helped the injured, and shared resources. Maria pointed out the different roles. "Each person has a job. Some are rescuers, while others provide food and shelter. We believe in teamwork and community." As the simulation played out, the council members began to nod in approval. They could see the humans' ability to unite in a crisis. The ambassador felt a sense of pride. This was what he wanted the council to understand about humans. After the demonstration, a member with shining silver skin asked, "What happened next? Did everyone survive?" David smiled. "Yes, most people were safe. We learned from that experience, improving our response systems for the future. That's how we grow stronger." The council members exchanged impressed glances. The mood in the room shifted from skepticism to curiosity. They started to see humans in a new light. "Perhaps we have misjudged you," said the older member with wise eyes. "Your ability to work together is admirable. But how do we know this is not just a show?" Maria replied, "We invite you to visit our world, experience our culture, meet our people, and see how we truly live. We want to build trust." The ambassador beamed at the humans. "This is a step in the right direction. Let us accept their invitation. It is time for us to learn more about one another." With the meeting coming to a close, the atmosphere felt lighter. The council members were beginning to realize that maybe war was not the only option. Perhaps a new friendship could blossom, bringing peace instead of conflict. As David and Maria prepared to leave, the ambassador felt a surge of hope. This meeting could be the beginning of a strong alliance. The future was uncertain, but for the first time it looked bright. The excitement from the meeting with the human diplomats lingered in the air. The council members felt hopeful about the possibility of friendship, but not everyone shared this optimism. In the shadows, some aliens plotted against the idea of peace. They believed that humans were a threat and that war was the only answer. In a hidden chamber deep within the council building, a group of council members gathered. They were led by a tall alien with dark scales named Grathar. He was known for his aggressive views. "We cannot trust these humans," he shouted, his voice booming. "They are clever and deceitful. We must prepare for battle before they turn on us." Another member with sharp features and bright yellow skin nodded in agreement. "They may seem friendly now, but they could attack when we least expect it. We need to show strength." As they spoke, their voices grew louder, echoing through the chamber. Grathar pointed to a large map of the galaxy hanging on the wall. "Look at this! We have the advantage. If we strike first, we can crush them before they can respond." Meanwhile, the ambassador was unaware of the rising tensions. He continued to plan for the upcoming visit to Earth, excited to show the council how humans lived. He hoped that seeing Earth firsthand would help dispel any lingering doubts. Back in the council chamber, Grathar and his followers decided to take action. They began to gather weapons and prepare for war, convincing other members that the humans were a danger to their way of life. "We need to rally our forces," Grathar urged. "If we act quickly, we can stop this madness of peace before it begins." As days passed, the council was torn between the message of the ambassador and the warnings of Grathar. Some members still wanted to meet with the humans, while others feared the consequences. The situation became more unstable, with arguments erupting during meetings. Finally, the day came for the council to vote on whether to send a delegation to Earth. The atmosphere in the council chamber was tense. Members took their seats, and the ambassador felt a knot in his stomach. He knew the importance of this decision. Grathar stood up before the council. "We must not allow ourselves to be fooled by these humans. They are clever and dangerous. If we send a delegation, we risk our safety. I propose we prepare for war instead." Many members nodded, their expressions serious. The ambassador quickly stood up, determined to defend his stance. "We cannot let fear dictate our choices. Humans have shown us their willingness to work together. We should explore the possibility of peace, not war." The room fell silent as the two sides clashed. Tension hung thick in the air. The council members were split, with some shouting in agreement with Grathar, while others supported the ambassador. After heated arguments, the council finally voted. The majority sided with Grathar, deciding to prepare for war. The ambassador felt a chill run down his spine. He had hoped for peace, but now it seemed that war was looming closer. With the decision made, Grathar and his followers wasted no time. They began to rally forces, training soldiers and gathering weapons. "We must be ready for anything," Grathar declared. "Humans may be peaceful now, but when they see our strength, they will know not to challenge us." Meanwhile, David and Maria prepared for their visit to the council planet. They were excited, unaware of the brewing storm. They believed the council was open to peace, but tensions were rising behind the scenes. Back in the council chamber, the ambassador felt a sense of dread. He had tried so hard to promote understanding, but now it seemed like the council was heading toward destruction. He knew he had to act quickly to prevent the worst from happening. As the day of the meeting approached, he gathered his closest allies. "We must warn the humans," he said urgently. "If they come here and we are preparing for war, it could lead to disaster. We need to ensure their safety and prevent a conflict." His friends nodded in agreement. Together, they devised a plan to send a message to David and Maria, hoping to convey the urgency of the situation. Time was running out, and the ambassador knew that if they didn't act fast, it might be too late. The future of both their worlds hung in the balance, and the ambassador felt the weight of that responsibility more than ever. Would they be able to stop the tide of war before it was too late? The day of the meeting had arrived, and tensions were at an all-time high. The council members prepared for the human delegation's arrival, but the air was thick with unease. The ambassador could feel the weight of the situation pressing down on him. He had fought hard for peace, but now he feared that war was inevitable. As David and Maria landed on the council planet, they were filled with hope. They believed their visit would strengthen the bond between their worlds. But as they stepped off their ship, they sensed something was off. The atmosphere was tense, and they could see soldiers marching in formation. The ambassador greeted them with a forced smile. "Welcome to our world. We have much to discuss." But deep down, he was anxious. He could not shake the feeling that their safety was at risk. They entered the Grand Council chamber, where the members were already seated. The room felt cold, and David and Maria exchanged worried glances. The ambassador sensed their discomfort and quickly began the meeting. "We appreciate your visit and are eager to learn from you," he said, trying to maintain a positive tone. Grathar, seated at the far end of the chamber, interrupted. "Learning? We should be preparing for war instead." His voice echoed through the room, and the council members shifted uncomfortably. David stepped forward, his expression serious. "We came here to talk about peace. We believe that our two worlds can work together for a better future. We want to understand each other." Grathar sneered. "Understand? You think we can trust you? Your kind is clever. You may seem friendly now, but we cannot let our guard down." The ambassador raised a hand to calm the rising tension. "Please let us hear what the humans have to say. They came with good intentions." Maria took a deep breath, determined to calm the situation. "We are not your enemies. We want to share our knowledge, our culture, and our dreams. War only leads to suffering. We must find a way to work together." But Grathar would not back down. "You cannot expect us to ignore the threat. What if you turn against us when we lower our defenses?" The council members murmured among themselves, torn between fear and hope. The room felt electric, each member weighing the possibilities of war or peace. The ambassador stood firm, his heart racing. "This is our chance to build something great. We must choose wisely." Suddenly, a young council member who had been silent until now spoke up. "What if we test this idea of friendship? We can arrange a cultural exchange. Let the humans show us their ways, and we can show them ours." Grathar scoffed. "And what if this leads to betrayal? We cannot risk our safety on a whim." David spoke again, his voice steady. "We would welcome the chance to share our culture. You would see our true nature. We have nothing to hide." The council members debated fiercely. The tension was palpable as they weighed their options. The ambassador knew they had to make a decision soon. "We must consider the future of our people. A war could destroy us both. Is that what we want?" Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the council voted. The outcome would determine the fate of both their worlds. The ambassador held his breath as the results were announced. "The motion for a cultural exchange passes." Relief washed over the ambassador, but he also felt a weight of responsibility. They had chosen a path of peace, but it was fragile. Grathar's expression darkened, and he stood up, furious. "You are making a mistake! The humans cannot be trusted. As Grathar stormed out of the chamber, David and Maria exchanged hopeful glances. The ambassador approached them, his expression serious. "This is just the beginning. We must move carefully." David nodded. "We understand the risks, but together we can make this work. We want to show you our humanity." As the meeting concluded, the ambassador felt a glimmer of hope. The council had chosen a path toward peace, but the journey would not be easy. They still faced challenges, especially with factions like Grathar's seeking war. In the days that followed, the ambassador and the humans worked tirelessly to set up the cultural exchange. They planned events that would showcase their strengths, art, and history. David and Maria were excited to share Earth with the council. But in the shadows, Grathar and his followers plotted their next move. The ambassador knew that they could not let fear dictate their actions. They had chosen peace, but the fight for it had just begun. As the sun set over the council planet, the ambassador looked out at the horizon, determined to protect the fragile bond they had forged. It was a new beginning, and he was ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. Together, they would strive for a brighter future, not just for themselves, but for all their people.